Hello fellow mutants, welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to talk about this article by Screen Rant that says Sony's Karate Kid reboot already makes no sense. And that interests me, so I had to make a video about it. So let's do this thing. Sony is planning to reboot the Karate Kid franchise, but the description of it makes little sense. The ongoing popularity of the Netflix Cobra Kai has led to a true golden age of the Karate Kid franchise. Sony, being a co-producer of Cobra Kai with Netflix through Sony's television, evidently recognized that this was the announcement of a new Karate Kid movie to be released in 2024, being 2 years from now. But the details about it have resulted in a fair amount of confusion. The upcoming Karate Kid movie will probably not be tied with Cobra Kai, per the show's creator John Hurwitz. While this would seem to indicate a hard reboot of the Karate Kid as a theatrical priority, it seems that is not the case either. The film being described as the return of the original Karate Kid franchise, with just two elements of Sony's new Karate Kid movie. There's already a lot to unpack, and most of it is lacking in clarity. The idea of a new Karate Kid movie being both a return of the mainline franchise that begins the series, while also having no connection to the Cobra Kai, sends a contradictory mixed message about what the reboot will be. Cobra Kai being a direct follow-up of the Karate Kid movies, any movie or series set within said franchise would be connected to the Cobra Kai by default. That is also just the beginning of the aspect of the Sony's Karate Kid reboot that are already creating considerable issues and bewilderment. Karate Kid 2024 not being connected to Cobra Kai is a missed opportunity, and I have to agree with that. Without having to read what's coming up next, I have to agree with that. Let's read. The cultural phenomenon that Cobra Kai has become is the envy of most franchise comebacks. After becoming a surprise hit with its first 2 seasons on YouTube Red, Cobra Kai's migration to Netflix has seen its popularity continually grow with each season. Cobra Kai's season 6 potential villain team up, like spurring the growth even further. As the modern continuation of the Karate Kid franchise, Sony's reboot, seemingly trying to stand apart from it, seems to be creating a challenge for the messaging of its marketing where it does not need to exist. The Cobra Kai being so embedded with the past of the Karate Kid movies, the description of Sony's 24 Karate Kid movie as going back to the original series is bizarre, with Cobra Kai itself showing the franchise has long since returned. Additionally, Cobra Kai popularity makes a reboot feel like a confusing abandoned chance to continue the show's meteoric success into theaters. As Cobra Kai continues the Karate Kid franchise with a new story and character returns like Sean Kennan's Mike Barnes from Karate Kid Part 3. The idea of the Karate Kid reboot becomes even more perplexing in light of the bedrock for one having already been set up. That, of course, being the Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith led in the Karate Kid in 2010. Which, honestly, I would have been more for that awful movie to get a sequel. I say awful because compared to like the original Karate Kid movies, yeah, the 2010 wasn't that good. But I would be more open for that to get a sequel than them to just to reboot the series again or movie again. That makes sense. Anywho, the Karate Kid's 2010 reboot could use a sequel. Does it really need a sequel though? Does it really? Last read. The title of the Karate Kid reboot is rather a blatant misnomer. The film taking place in China and switching to kung fu as the martial art and the center of its young protagonist's training. Though it was retitled The Kung Fu Dream in China. Despite this, The Karate Kid was a big hit in the summer of 2010 and was widely commended as a worthy modernization of the original story. The performance of Jaden Smith as a young American Kung Fu student, Dre Parker, and Jackie Chan as his mentor, Mr. Han, channeling as much martial arts wisdom as Daniel Daniel's teacher, Mr. Miyagi, were a major highlight of the Karate Kid reboot. Despite its box office success and general praise, Dre and Mr. Han never returned to theaters in their own version of the Karate Kid Part 2. And here's the thing, even though you guys just heard me dissing the 2010 Karate Kid a bit, I have to say that I do respect that they did not call Jackie Chan Mr. Miyagi or Jaden Smith's character Daniel LaRusso, because they created new characters. And hypothetically, if Cobra Kai wanted to, they could, in a way, wheel in those characters into the universe, making that reboot, in a way, a sequel. Or whatever. You guys know what I mean, right? I hope you guys know what I mean. Then that would be confused even more, so maybe not. Forget the last 10, 12 seconds to this video. Continuing. While Sony's general description of the new Karate Kid movie is confusing for the stimulation distancing from Cobra Kai, while declaring itself within the core of the franchise, the studio ignoring 2010's The Karate Kid compounds that. With a built-in hit as its foundation that would also serving as a reinterpretation of the Karate Kid story more, adventures with Dre and Dr. Han, or Mr. Han, would give Sony a Karate Kid reboot that already has done all the heavy lifting. It also would not even necessarily rule out Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan appearing in Cobra Kai either, as I was kind of learning to just now, which could itself be a massive hope for Sony and Netflix alike. With the path Sony seems headed down with the Karate Kid reboot, it instead is setting up for another problem. Oh, there's more. Okay. The new Karate Kid movie risks undoing the progress Cobra Kai has made. Cobra Kai may be a direct follow-up to the Karate Kid movies, but it is also a reinvention in its own way. Ralph Macchio's Daniel and William Zabek's Johnny are as central to Cobra Kai as they were in the original Karate Kid movies. But viewers have seen them transform greatly both individually and in their relationship with each other. That same transformation that has occurred with other returning characters like Cobra Kai's villainous sensei Terry Silver, who was played by Thomas Ian Griffith. His one-time army friend John Kreese, who was played by Martin Kove, and Daniel's old rival turned friend Joshin Toguchi, who was played by Yuji Okumoto, which I apologize if I mispronounced anyone's name. Meanwhile, there's also a further problem in the story of Cobra Kai itself, much being less clear-cut in who it is the protagonist and antagonist side of the conflict than the Karate Kids movies were. One of the great strengths of Cobra Kai is the gray morality many of its characters fall into, particularly the young students of Daniel, Johnny, and Terry. The chaotic school fight of Cobra Kai Season 2 ended in Robbie, who played by Tanner Butchanan, sorry if I butchered your name, nearly killing Miguel. Solo, I'm not even going to try to attempt to pronounce this last name because I know I'm going to get it wrong. But the show's story structure made it possible for both of them to retain the empathy of viewers. Tony Nichols, played by Peyton List, has been spent most of Cobra Kai as something of an antagonist, but one that viewers generally care for, with the hard life she fought through and the mystery of Tori's mom. With Cobra Kai's more blurred lines of hero and villain treating the perspective of everyone as equally worthy of and valid. Sony's Karate Kid reboot would be the regression to return to tightly defined parameters of who occupies the roles. The Karate Kid franchise has not merely been reinvigorated by Cobra Kai, but taken a level of adoration almost unheard of for a franchise resurrection. Sony's decision to build on the popularity of Cobra Kai has achieved, under normal circumstances, would be a smart business move. However, without some needed clarity of the plans or for it, the contradictory way in which it has been positioned early on the well as numerous other factors could make the Karate Kid reboot a real underdog for the success of Cobra Kai going to season 6. I think by when we get the Karate Kid film, Cobra Kai season 6 would already be out. Because we're talking about 2 years from now? We're getting the new Karate Kid movie, and Cobra Kai, I'm fully expecting to return around this time next year. The earliest. So, but I do get what they're saying. Because in the long run, I also don't think that Karate Kid reboot makes much sense at this time. Cobra Kai is doing great. It reinvigorated the love that people might have had for the Karate Kid movies back again. People like me for example, people like me been saying we want to see Julie Pierce come back again, as the actress who played Julie Pierce to come back, being Hilary Swank, even if it was for an episode. And they can use Hilary Swank being pregnant as a way to give Julie Pierce a happy ending, or happiest ending. Or where is she now? What is she doing? She's a mom? She's gonna be a mom? That's great. In the show, as well as real life. It could be a parallel between the actress and the character. And, which could easily, set up a potential sequel show for Cobra Kai starring Julie Pierce's kid being the next Cobra Kai, or something like that. I'm just throwing out a random name. And yes, it was supposed to be a pun to the next Karate Kid movie. name. But seriously, Cobra Kai's in this height. It's just for example, Batman. The Christian Bale Batman on his height, right? It's going great. And then, before The Dark Knight Rises comes out, we get announced that we're getting a new Batman movie. Sure, that could work, but it wouldn't make much sense at the time as to announce it until, after The Dark Knight Rises comes out. If that makes sense, probably a bad analogy. But my overall point is, I agree with this article. At this very moment, Karate Kid, I don't think it's tactically wise for them to announce a Karate Kid film, a reboot. Cobra Kai is doing great. I even heard that they're wanting to make a Cobra Kai trilogy. Great. I mean, I'll give this a watch. At the very least, I'll give this a watch. But I don't think this is tactically wise for them to do. I don't. But I do wish them luck. I hope everything goes well. And whatever confusion, I hope it gets cleared up. That's my stance on it. That said, I'm grading this video. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. The article that I was reading will be in the pinned comments. Love you guys. Have a wonderful day. Kind of one another. I'll talk to you guys later. Later, mutants.